All right, back with you here on Pirate Radio Live with Brian Meador, who joins us inside Studio C. Meador, how you doing, man?
Doing great, man. It's very comfortable in here.
I thought about this, Brian, and you're not going to want to hear this, but I feel like you've almost surrounded yourself with so many legends that you yourself get overlooked. I think about the late great Jeff Charles. I obviously think about Brian Bailey, and you even have the tagline "Little Buddy," I think, coming up. So. You don't want to hear this, but you're like 5-10 years away from being a legend. I mean that sincerely.
I
because
appreciate.
you've been in 2 different TV stations.
Correct.
Right? You've been at ECU for decades, a couple decades.
No. 2011, January of 2011.
All right, we'll give you 13ish.
But I was at 9, and we actually did Fox back when I was at Channel 9. So I've hit every TV, local TV station except the ABC affiliate WCTI. So Brian North's holding it down. Speaking of a legend.
He will get there one day if he keeps working hard. Brian North's like the hardest working dude
He's
on and off the air.
He creates the illusion. That's what he likes to say.
Yeah, he does. But Meador, awesome to have you here, and I also real quick want to tell folks a quick Brian Meador story. I've told it before, but like when I first started here, I think I was done interning and maybe actually working here. I can't remember. It was early on in my pirate radio days. And I was producing the press box, which I was like, man, we got, I listened to Troy D on the radio and watched him on TV, when I was in school. And we got Bailey and Billy Weaver. And
well,
Brian
it was Nate
Meador.
Summers was when you first started. It was Nate Summers. Like when I first started doing it, you had a little dab of Nate?
Then. I don't, maybe at the tail end. But either way, it was cool to like be. I wasn't even associated with you guys, but like working alongside you guys. So I do a thing where the old Jeff Ross comedian where he says you only roast the ones you love.
Oh,
but
yes.
we were not friends enough for me to do what I did. So I was out at Bowley's getting hammered during football.
Yeah.
Bill DiNicole was there, another great dude. I didn't know him as well as I do now. So like
producer at Channel 7 worked his way up. He's in Raleigh now.
I made several mistakes along the way, but I think I just said, "Hey, Bill, you work with Brian Meador, right?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Man, that guy's a real jerk, man. He's awesome. He is a real a-hole."
That wasn't the story
and I love it. Like, and so it was Bill and like 3 or 4 girls that worked at IGN.
It was the main female. I won't say her name, but she was the main anchor at the time.
Yeah,
and she liked to talk a lot.
And so
and stir the pot, and that's what she did.
I'm like, all right, well, y'all have a good one. And then I watch my football. I come in Tuesday for the press box, and this is another reason I love Meador. There was no like awkwardness. He right when he saw me, he said, "Hey, man, you talking about me? Do we have a problem?"
That's exactly what I said. Yeah. Did you have a problem with me?
And
let's clear this up right now because I like you, Clip. I think you're a great guy. I don't know you very well, but
and I was like,
you're gonna pop off of the mouth. I'm calling you out. The story I got was not what you said, and then I got to know you. Then I realized, okay, I almost said her name. She was stirring the pot because that's what she did at the station. So all I heard was, "Oh, he does not like you. He called you a jerk and said that you ran your mouth too much." And I was like, "What?"
So, yeah.
Well, those things are true, but I don't know him well enough for that.
And I don't know you well enough to say that in public at the time. But I was so confused, and you told me, and I was like, oh, my God. I was totally like, I meant it as like a compliment. I think you're hilarious, and you're all.
I appreciate you saying that.
But anyway, I learned a lesson to like make sure you're actually cool with somebody before you try to.
Know your audience, too, because if you had known what I knew, I would have not. I never talked in front of her because I knew she was that type of person.
But anyway, I'm just glad to be your buddy, Meador.
You are a good friend.
After that tough moment there. Brian, want to get you on for multiple reasons, but we are celebrating the 1999 team. Really cool that that East Carolina's doing that UTSA week, and we have talked to Jeff Carr, Keith Stokes, and Andrew Bays so far. And we talk to Kevin Monroe every week, but those guys have been on telling awesome stories. And for a guy like Andrew Bays, he's still connected with East Carolina because he's calling road games.
Sure.
That's awesome. For Jeff Carr, like, he said this will be the first time he's bringing his family back to Greenville and is so excited for, the next generation of Carrs to see East Carolina and Dowdy Ficklin. So really neat deal, and they're fired up for it.
That surprises me because he came back for our Legend series that we did with IMG, Learfield now. Megan Hinchin was somebody I worked real closely with at the time. when they were our media partner, and we did this Legends thing every home football game, and we started with one a week. Oh, I'm sorry, 2 a week, and then we went to one. But we had Jeff came down, and I thought his family would have been with him that weekend.
It
but
was his first time his son, I believe.
It could be. That could be it. But I love Jeff. Huge fan of that guy as a person, and known him for a long time. And I just remember, and that guy played as hard as anybody played. He was always bust the top of the bridge of his nose. I think he's still got a scuff or a scar from the way he played, and he was so much fun to watch. His energy, and he was a great vibe. You wanted to see how that football team was playing, how he acted on the field, man. That was exactly how that was the fiber of that football team.
So, in the long line of Brian Meador jobs, where were you in 1999 when all this was happening?
I was at WNCT. I started at Channel 9 as an intern in 95 and worked there until 2003. So I was with Bailey in sports. And when the hurricanes, the back-to-back, the stuff that happened with the flooding and all that, I was with Channel 9, and they pulled me over since I was doing sports. We killed sports. They had Bailey over in the parking lot of Sam's Club or Walmart or whatever it was, and they had Chris Stansbury in the newsroom giving updates on what closings, what roads were closed, what schools were closed, that kind of thing. And then I was the number 3 guy. So they basically said, well, you're going to have to pick up a camera and go shoot this stuff and get on a helicopter every day. So it was pretty much what I did, was jump into a helicopter every single day. And Eagle 9, we called it back then.
How was that?
Very expensive.
Was it exciting? Was it scary? Were you nervous?
I didn't. I had more so now. I didn't have a fear of heights at all. I was the only one. Woody Spencer was he was our chief photographer at the time. Oh, yeah. And Woody's a legend in this area. I think I just gave him a title bump. He wasn't chief photographer, but whatever. It was our old buddy Kevin O'Brien, KO, the late KO. Yeah. But anyway, Woody went up the first time. But we had this bigger helicopter we rented for the first go, and then when they realized how much it cost, they were like, "We can't do that anymore." And so David Sawyer and me, I'm not kidding when I tell you it's smaller than a MASH bubble helicopter, and it's a 2-seater. Well, you have the pilot, you have David Sawyer, and you have me. So how are we going to get in there? I had to turn with my back facing David Sawyer. The one shoulder harness that we had went over both of us. And it's a true story. I had to put my camera over on my shoulder like this, and I'm shooting, and I took the microphone and I put it in my ear side so you could hear what David was saying. And so I can hear David, he's talking about this road or that road, or this is flooded. And David Sawyer was brilliant with looking at topography and maps, and he knew where we were. And it looks like it's all the same to me, dude. I don't know. But some of the stuff we saw from the air was fascinating. We had the bigger helicopter, I think 3 or 4 times, and then the little guy for the rest of the 2-week period. But at one point we landed. I want to say it was Beulahville, somewhere in the southeastern counties. We landed, and these people ran up to us. You got to think in '99, there were people didn't have cell phone service out in the country. Yeah. You didn't. Everything's shut down. The only thing that was working was over the airwave television or radio. Mm-hmm. So these people are completely cut off. They're running up to us like we're there for them, and we were just landing to get some shots on the ground because we had seen some flooding. And they run up to us. They had been cut off, and it was fascinating. Carla Alligo was our reporter at the time, and we did a feature on them and how they've been cut off from the outside world. Because you know how it worked. All the flooding cuts, the rivers rise. It cuts Greenville right in half. Yeah. Then the north and south side of the Tar River, and it was a fascinating time. And for the football team not to be able to get home was really fascinating.
Brian Meador joining us. So how about when we get back to that sports, and we've had Jeff and Brian Bailey's talked about this and others, how we needed that football game, just as a distraction, just for fun. The players have all talked about how shocked they were at the amount of people at that game in Raleigh, because they thought that people weren't going to be able to get there, or even if they could, wouldn't want to because of what's going on. But it was kind of the opposite. We wanted something good, something to be excited about, to get behind. So did you cover the game in Raleigh?
Stansbury, me, and Brian Bailey. And I remember the water's receding enough. It's 264 was passable. There were areas that still had some water, if I recall correctly. But going up there and being a part of that environment, and it was, I want to say, it was as much to get out of Greenville. No, and not crapping on Greenville in any way.
But just
But I'm telling you, man. You're in a helicopter every day, and I saw so much death. You remember the cattle over. There were all those cows that they drowned. The farmer, I think he was from Aden. He got one cow out, and he was hoping the rest would follow, and they wouldn't follow. Nice. They had water up to their, right up tops of their legs, and they ended up obviously drowning because they would get tired, fall over or whatever, and it was just toxic. It was dirty, smelled. I remember going over top of a pig farm, and it was just the stench of death and everything was just. It was a swampy, nasty time as the waters were receding, and it was just dirty. So to get out of Greenville for someone like me who had been, I was chewing that every day on that helicopter.
Just pretty
disgusting.
depressing. Yeah.
It was awful. and then we actually went into David Garrard's apartment when he got back, and the water line was up to the top of his ceiling. It was crazy, and there was everything inside was destroyed because they couldn't get back to get stuff out.
They stayed in South Carolina,
That's right, Columbia. Yeah, they had just beaten South Carolina and were on their way back. And I know Alex Radow back then. Channel 7 had the coaches show, so Alex Radow was with the team. So he was stranded away. He was the weekend guy from WITN, so he was stranded with them. So it was so surreal the way it was all happening, and for news people, you cover the story, and unlike today's reporters who put themselves into the stories, like your old buddy Feldman, I would you never made yourself the story. Yeah. But it was hard not to become part of it because you were suffering right with them. Everybody was suffering through this time of uncertainty because it was a 500-year flood. So
a new documentary, I believe, is coming out about it. Ken Watlington, working on something.
25 years, man.
Man, my grandmother passed away a few months ago, Meador, and we were going through her house looking at stuff. I showed Bailey. I should have showed you too. I have an unopened VHS copy of Flood of the Century.
Yeah, we won an Edward R. Murrow award. Yeah, we won a big award for that. When my buddy Richard Ramirez, he did the music for it.
Wait, Richard Ramirez?
Richie, and it's that's right.
I figured you'd be friends with him.
Night Stalker. Yeah, no, Richie. This is a funny story. Richie called me up. He was at the time he was a music major at East Carolina, and we were doing everything as cheap as we could get it done. And so Elizabeth Wilder, who was our morning person, she was helping put together that documentary. And she said, "Do you know of anybody who would be good?" I said, "I got the guy. He knows music." And so he put the very somber track to that thing. And the funny thing is, he called me up and said, "Hey, man, the water's almost to my house, man," because he lived down on, I think, Jarvis. The water was slowly coming up, And he called me up and said, "Hey, water's about to come into my house." And I said, "I'll be there in 15 with the Channel 9 van." So I roll up with a reporter, and we did a story on him. I didn't help him. I did a story on him as he was getting all the crap out of his house. He's like, "What are you doing, man?" I was like, we got a story to do, man.
We're trying to win an award, too, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Brian Meador joining us. Meador, we'll wrap this up, but some thoughts from 99. Let's end on a positive. How about the football game?
Oh, the win. The win. It was incredible. I mean, falling behind like that and having that, how much more can they kick us? We've been down. And then you felt that momentum, and you're coming
literally
back.
Playing a team called the Hurricanes.
The Hurricanes. It was just everything made sense, but it didn't make any sense. It was like, what are we doing? And then I believe there was an incomplete pass at the end of the game that and then everybody's on the field, and then there may have been a celebration that got a little out of hand, but it was a lot of energy. It had to come out somewhere.
As I told you, I was watching that with my buddies and his dad, who was a State fan, and he said their arms crossed with a frown on his face as everybody was tearing the field up. That was pretty awesome.
It was a bad look, but at the same time, you know what?
Give us a break.
Give us a break, dude. What have we been through? Thanks for letting us use your stadium. By the way, we're going to tear it up now. It's like rock stars in a hotel room, man. We had a good time here.
We're Led Zeppelin.
We're throwing a TV out the window now.
Meador, we'll get you back. I want to talk about what's going on now, but wanted to relive some of those memories.
Sure.
And man, you had some both good and bad from that time, but we appreciate it, man. And,
always good to see you,
talk to you
Clip.
again soon, and let me know if Dak will let us borrow some money.
He's $231 million guaranteed. Are you kidding me? So stupid.
Thanks, Meador.
Just stupid money. All right.